All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you guys for being here. On-site people, online people, thank you so much for being here as well. My name is Pierre Niency with Any IT Support. I am an IT service provider that focuses on small to medium-sized business. And basically what I do is provide custom solutions for business so you guys can stay in the business. This event, we're partnership with Hackware. I'll let Juno go ahead and Juan to go ahead and introduce himself. Juan?
Yeah, hello everybody, and thanks for joining us here today. It's awesome to see everybody, and really excited to be able to have this conversation today. And thank you, Pierre, for having me. It's a great and awesome opportunity for us to support the community, and I look forward to bringing some value. Just a little bit about me. I've been in the IT industry for it's almost over 28 years now. And I've been in cybersecurity for many of those years, and really focusing on how to help businesses move their businesses forward through managed services and also through cybersecurity. And I am the global channel chief for Hackware. So today we'll be diving into some really fun topics, and I really look forward to sharing a little bit about some ways that you can be protecting not only your business but also your families and your lives. So, Pierre, if you have anything else, I'm
Oh
happy.
man, go for it. I am excited for this presentation, so go for it.
Awesome. Well, great. So the conversation today, we're going to be talking through a few things. So for those of you that are here remotely, that are joining me virtually, and then also you physically there, we're going to be talking through a couple of things. And the things that we'll be talking through today, which are probably things that maybe you've never heard about. And as we start to talk about some of those things, they may be things that I feel are really important for people to understand, right? And one of the big things that we'll be talking about today is a topic called your digital footprint. Now, this is something that I'll dive into so you guys get a better idea. And hey, Ruben, welcome to the show, buddy. We're just getting started, so you haven't missed into anything. But one of the things we'll also be talking about is modern business risks. So for those of you that are young entrepreneurs or even business owners, there are things that you need to be paying attention to as far as like presenting your business and really thinking about this world that we live in. One of the big things that we need to be focused on is business risk. Obviously, for those of you who've been in business for any point in time, you know that there's a thing called insurance, right? And so we have to be thinking about the ways that we're protecting our businesses. And then in the cyber world that we live in, there's a lot of opportunity. So we'll be going into that a little bit as well. And we're giving you tactics, tips, and tricks on the ways that you can protect yourselves from all of this. So just know that this won't just be lecture. It won't just be me talking about it topically. We'll also have a Q&A at the end, so you guys can ask some questions for those of you virtually and those that you're in attendance here. But the biggest thing we're going to circle back on at the end here is really about protecting your business, your family, and that's really through education. So everything that you learned today, I'm hoping that you'll be able to take some of that back. There's going to be some really great handouts that Pierre is going to be able to share with you so that you guys have something to take home. And even if you receive that virtually, you'll be able to share that internally. So let's get started on this. So with that being said, your digital footprint. There is this word. How many of you ever heard of digital footprint before? Anybody ever raise their hands? Ruben, you've heard about it? All right. Well, when we think about the digital footprint, a digital footprint, when you look at the definition of it, is really it's your digital reputation. It's all the information that's online about a person, either posted by that person or maybe by some other application or thing, intentionally or unintentionally. Whether you filled out a form or you left a blog or a comment, updating your status, checking into a location, your email, if you sent an instant message to a friend or a digital message, a posting, a video, visiting a website, using a search engine, things that you've looked for, everything you do that leaves a trail, this is your digital footprint. Now, not many people know that this happens, right? I mean, for the many of you, you ever heard the word cookies before? Anyone ever heard the word cookies being used? Well, this is a way that things track you and things that you do. But also, whenever you're on the internet and you're on the all over the internet, there's things that are paying attention to what you do. And in this world, in this era of data, That's very valuable. Now, for many of us, I often hear this whenever I'm talking to a small business. They often say, Juan, who cares about my data? Like, what is it about? I don't really think that anyone really wants my data. Well, I will promise you this. We're going to dive into an exercise here. I'm going to show you something here in just a little bit that proves that what you have is something of value. Now, you may think that, just little old me and, my name's Juan. I come from this small place in the middle of New Mexico. And, you know, I make a normal pay and I go to work every day and I do my job. It can't possibly worth anybody's time to actually try to leverage me in any way. I can promise you, we're going to go through this today. And when you walk away from this, you'll understand a little bit more about why your digital footprint is so important. This isn't something that we're taught, right? When we first walked on the information superhighway, we jumped on the internet and we were just cruising down the road with a Yugo with a flat tire and a cracked windshield, and we loved it. No one told us that there was things that we needed to watch out for, right? We didn't know that there was internet stop signs. We didn't know that there was yellow lights to be cautious about. We just caught on. Well, there's some ways that you can protect yourself. And one of the things that I like to share is something that's easy for you to do. Now, this is an email that Pierre is going to be able to send everyone that's in attendance today. And this is Google Alerts. How many people know about Google? Everybody know about Google? Well, if you want to know more about what it is that's shared on the internet about you, you may be shocked to know that whether it's your personal life or your business life, or maybe it's your family, you can set up something called Google Alerts. You can use the power of the internet to tell you what's out there about you. And I know that that might sound weird, but there's a reason behind that. You want to know what's being said about your business, you can set up a Google Alert. There's a lot of places people talk about not just you, your personal life, but also about your business. What's being said? What are the things that are out there that are being said? If you have a business and you want to kind of understand a little bit more about, maybe some ratings or something like that, you don't have the tools to keep, in front of that and be on those platforms, you can set up a Google alert with your name in it. I have one. It says Juan Fernandez, MSP. Anytime that there's a managed service provider conversation that has MSP and Juan Fernandez in it, I get an alert. And I know what's being said about Juan Fernandez in the world that I live, right? So if you have a business that's out there that maybe you're in catering and you're, Juan's Bakery and I do catering. So I'd like to know if anything's said about Juan's Bakery catering and send it back to me. And this will send you an email. Now, this is just a little tool, right? So a lot of people say, why would I do this one? And it's really just to understand a little bit about these are the trigger words and alerts that you can set up for your business to know what's being said, and also for your personal life. For the most part, I like to see, and I don't necessarily want to track my family, but I have a Google alert set up for my girls to make sure that whatever's being said or however their name is being posted on the internet, I can make them aware of if something negative comes up. Not to say that they would ever land up in that scenario, or even if they land up in a positive light. My girls do wonderful things and I love to see things about them, but they don't always tell me, and maybe their business posted something about them and I don't know that. They don't tell me because they didn't know. And then all of a sudden I see it and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so happy for you. Like, congratulations on making, store of the month. Like, that's a great, wonderful thing. And they're like, Dad, how could you possibly know that? And I'm like, I am on the internet all day long. Right. So this is a cool way that you can use this tool, and we'll send it. There's an email coming behind it. You'll notice the little icon down here in the bottom. That little email will signify an email that you will receive on how to use this tool in your business. But, when you're talking about tracking your digital footprint, that's one way to do it, right? This is just a step down a path toward a number of things that you can find out about yourself, or find out about your business, or find out about any particular thing. In the case where, the Minority Business Development Center and my name is mentioned, I got an alert. There was an alert that said Juan Fernandez and the Minority Business Development Center are doing something. Hey, Juan, you might want to look at that. It's important to me to know where my information is and what's being said. There's another thing also called Have I Been Pwned? And this is an interesting one. And the reason that this is interesting is because how many of us feel like your information has ever been leaked out before? Have you guys ever felt like that? Now, I don't know that you don't have to answer if you know that, because I don't know that you would. But if you felt like that, this might be an opportunity for you to understand if it has. Now, this website, haveibeenpwned.com, if you go there and you enter your work email address, you'll find out whether or not your information has been leaked out on the internet and it's been recognized or been compromised in some way. So if you own a business today, it's important for you to go and put in maybe your name and then the email address and see if this is something that's been leaked. My information, has any of my employees ever had their information compromised? And I don't know, maybe they didn't tell me, right? How many of us here have email reporting plans to, if you've been compromised, to report to your manager? Probably none of us, right? So the chances are that I've had an employee that might have had an email that might have been compromised is highly likely. I like to tell a little story, and I'm going to use this as an opportunity here. Can anybody here tell me where the best place in your mailbox is? Like, anybody? Anybody have an idea? All right, I'm going to give it to you. Just like in Disneyland, right? It's supposed to be the best place on earth. But if you guys have been to Disneyland with children, you may not think the same thing, right? The best place in your mailbox is in your junk mail, because you're always a winner. Somebody's always trying to give me a loan that I've been pre-approved for. I've always got like money coming to me from somebody that I don't know. Like, it's the best place. And this is the opportunity that we have today. So how many of us have ever been to Vegas? All right.
Yeah, 2, 3.
All right. We got a whole bunch, right? Now think about this. If I'm going to go to Vegas to go and gamble and maybe have a good time, let's say that I do like to gamble. Not that I do, but let's say that I do. I'm going to pay to take a chance. And I might pay $1,000. I might pay $2,000. Who knows? I might pay $5. Who knows what it is? But I'm paying to take a chance. In my email, in my junk mail, it's free for me to click that email. And if I work for a company that I don't own, what's the damage? What if it's real? What if I did win a Dyson vacuum cleaner? What if I did win a Ryobi, tool set? What if I did win a Home Depot gift card? I'm willing to take a chance for free. And we have to think that as business owners, as leaders, we have to realize that we as a people are willing to take chance, and we're willing to pay to take a chance sometime, right? And so this particular website points us back to a place that gives us an opportunity to maybe have a discussion, right? This is a great place to verify the fears that you might have if your company has been compromised. And this is actually what they call it, scans the dark web, and it actually comes back and says your particular email address has been breached X amount of times, your domain, right? Your company, your website address. It's not my proudest moment if my company's on that, but it teaches me something that I need to work on. And that's really, what conversations do I need to be having? And so hopefully today we're going to help you have some of those conversations and show you ways that you can move past maybe something that might have happened. But before we move forward, I want to also point out something else that's very interesting. There are a number of companies across the world that can see tons of information about you. I mentioned earlier, your digital footprint. Wherever we step on the internet leaves traces of who we are. There are companies been verified, MyLife, Radaris, Intelisys, Whitespace, White Pages, and Spokeo that are harvesting this information. Now, if you're an employee at some point, maybe looking to get a job. Many companies subscribe to companies like a company called LexisNexis, where they can actually harvest the data from all these and look at this particular individual and see all their profile information from Facebook and all these other things. And you can look at employees from a different lens. And I know we probably have said this, even thought this in the past. What if I'm saying something on the internet? What could that be, or what could that happen if I ever was to go look for a job? Like, man, what if they saw some of that stuff? That's my fear for my children, right? Like when they first started, they were like, young, and they were really young, and they didn't necessarily know some of the words that were coming out of their mouth could potentially harm them one day. But the thing that goes in on the internet, nothing ever really gets lost, right? It's always somewhere. So this site here, if you want to look at this at some point and go to any of these websites, they're tracking a lot of it. Spokeo is one of them. You can opt out your information, but it's very interesting to see what information they have, like previous addresses, your previous names, any public record information about your property that you live at, all of the different things, the employers you've ever worked at. I can go and look at, any number of things by these sites, and I just, start getting these profiles around these individual people. So if you see the steps that we're making here, first, I was able to see the first part of your information, right? You're just starting on your digital toe. And then all of a sudden, your foot starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I start getting a clearer and clearer picture of who you are. And here's the brass tacks. I mentioned earlier that I was going to allude to why. Who does this, Juan? Why do you want my data? Who cares? Because there's money behind it. Your information is worth money. You can go to this website, calc.datum.org, and you see every one of those little icons there. I'm sure some of them probably look familiar to you. I have them all highlighted right now. You can go and click each one of those icons and turn them off and make them gray. But I promise you, if you just had Facebook right here, right now, if I had your full profile of Facebook information, you're worth about $142 on the open market. Everybody in here is worth $142 if I just had your information from Facebook. But if I had your information from all of these, you're worth $2,002 as of today. This number changes as the days change, because data gets, the more data that they can get and the more advertisers that are buying it, the price goes up and down, just like the cost of oil and gas, right? So some days it could be higher and some days it could be lower, but today's rate is $2,002. That's what you're worth today. So each one of you in here, there's $10,000 worth of money physically sitting in the room. So this is why attackers and, the wannabe bad guys and the bad guys, real bad guys, this is why they're doing it. It's because you're worth money. And regardless of whether or not we think we are or aren't, even the smallest amount of data, my location, my high school, my hometown, my first and last name, and the people that I know or are related to on Facebook are worth about $142. So there's a reason why they're. So don't ask the question who or why or where. This is the reality. You can go into this website, look it up yourself. It's really fun to do. Share this with your children, because I know they don't believe that they're worth anything on the internet either. And I want to prove that, they're like, oh, all I do is watch YouTubes. And it's like, okay, well, YouTube's worth about $104 just for YouTube. So this is really what makes up your digital footprint, right? It's really what's shared by you. It's a triangulation, right? What's shared by others. So you see a bunch of your friends tagging you in things, sharing files to you, maybe connecting with you on LinkedIn or other places. All of this information is triangulation, right? And the more of it that I have, the more I know about who you are, the more your data is worth. This is why it's important. So as a business owner, you amplify that notion, right? Now I have employees. It starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger in the data that I know about you. And this is why cybersecurity is such a big deal. This is why the government is worried about supply chain risk, right? they're worried about how much information you can find out about me from not even being associated, for barely being associated with me in some meaningful way, right? All these attackers are now looking for the weakest link on the outside of the business, not even on the inside, because they know that the government is pretty tight. But I can triangulate around all these other businesses that might be doing business with you and look for the weakest link in. And this is really where your digital footprint matters. So when you're thinking about this from a business perspective, I don't want you to get scared and be like, you know what, I'm going to just shut down my business. I'm not going to do anything online and never touch anything and go into just selling hot dogs on the corner. That's not the way to think about this. It's just about being smart and understanding what's available, how to use it as a tool, but then also just educating, your family, your coworkers, your employees, all the different tiers around you about being responsible with your information. So for those of you that are business owners, I know that this data crosses both chasms, right? Personal life and business life. But one of the big things I want to illustrate is that, the FCC put out some 10 cybersecurity tips for small business. So for those of you that are here today, I want to issue a letter of hope that there are things that you can do to protect your business, and they're not that hard. You got Pierre here. That's his jam, right? He's here to help small business to really move into a path of security and be able to implement things that can help stop the situation. But I don't care what cybersecurity framework you really look at. The number one thing is to train employees on security principles. So just like we're here today, and I applaud all of you for being here today, because you're taking the first step, and that's the right step, is education toward solving the problem. You have to know what the problem is and know all about it in order to be able to solve it. And that's where you're at today, is really understanding more about what it is we're dealing with here, Juan. Like, I don't even know what this cybersecurity thing means. Maybe I do have an idea, but maybe I don't know everything about it. Just like the digital footprint, maybe we didn't know, right? So here's the greatest things right here. The top 10 things that the FCC and many other government agencies recommend. Number one is train your employees. Number two is protect information, computers, and networks from your cyber attacks. Number three is provide firewall security for your internet connections. Number four is create a mobile device action plan. Every one of us has a mobile device today, but maybe we don't have an action plan for maybe things that happen. Make backup copies of important business and data and information. Control physical access to your computers and create user accounts for each employee. Secure your Wi-Fi networks. Employ best practices on payment cards. Limit employee access to data and information, and the authority to install software on your computers. I will tell you that that's called shadow IT. When your employees come in and they have access to install things, and then all of a sudden you got something you didn't know you had, and you're paying for something, you're like, what? I didn't know I had this. It's a big deal. It's been a big sprawl in the last few years. And then number 10 is, make sure you have reliable passwords and authentication methods. Now, the link at the bottom here is for you guys to go and review this. I've taken a snippet of this, so this is a very small subset of advice. I'm just topically covering these things. It goes into actual tactical frameworks and conversation around it. But I want to point out again, what I want to make sure that we're understanding is, like, the biggest thing here is to train your employees on your security principles, right? Establishing your basic security practices and policies for employees, and requiring strong passwords or, appropriate internet usage. This is why you have Pierre. For those of you that have businesses to run and cybersecurity is not something that you feel comfortable with, you want to get with a trusted partner that will be able to give you the education and the understanding so that you can digest the information, but then also create the plans and then disseminate them within your organization. I can promise you the last thing that you want to happen is, you're working really hard to build your business, and then now I got this cybersecurity incident that just cost me my business, and I didn't even see that coming. The blind side is where you're going to get hit. And that's where you're at today. So again, back to my applause to you all is that you guys have your eyes open. And I really appreciate that, because we didn't learn how to do this, right? Like, all of us learned how to go to school. We learned topics. We learned how to do things, but we never learned how to get on the internet. We just didn't. That wasn't something that was taught to us. There's a huge gap between the ones that started off on the internet, which is the modern, that don't have enough education from us in the past. Like, if you think about the way we learn as a people, we've shared knowledge from age to age to age to age to age. And now we have this new thing that popped up in the middle where we just started using something that we didn't fully understand how to use. And now we have an era of digital natives that are much younger, that were born with, I like to say, a cell phone and a social security number. Like, they understand the technology because they were born into it, but they don't really truly understand the security of it, right? And that's where we have to be really careful, and we have to learn more, right? I talk a lot about learning, and I think it's really important. So one of the reasons for that, and I want to bridge this gap for you, because I hate to just leave you out in the cold and say there's no hope. That's not true. There is. We're here today to learn. But there's two things. There's two things, I was talking about. There's a human component of it, who we are as people, as a culture. And then there's also the business side of us, right? Where we're leveraging, okay, the cost-based benefit and the ROI, and triangulating those two things. But the most important thing is, number one is taking care of our families. So a couple of tips here I want to give to you guys is the top 10 tips. Making sure that you guys have information. And again, we'll share this deck with you for those that are attending virtually, and then use those that are here in person. We'll email this out to you so that you can see this, because I know that the font is a little small. This is just top 10 tips on, practicing good password management, making sure that, you're not clicking emails that you shouldn't, which everyone kind of knows you shouldn't, but maybe they don't necessarily know. Social platforms, we share a lot on social, and, I have conversations with my daughters all the time about, is that something you need to share on social? Like, and it's always this, dad, oh, you're just being overprotective. And it's like, I'm not being overprotective. Just know that everything you say stays, right? So you have to be very deliberate about that. Like, what if I go back 5 years from now? What if the stuff you were saying when you were 13, I brought back up and put it in front of you and said, what is this? Right? It's interesting as you think about that stuff. You don't think about it when you're doing it. And I tell them the same thing. It's the same for social media. Like, don't say things that you don't want to be held accountable for. Don't post pictures that you don't want to come back up later. How many of us use an application or a picture application on our phone, and it comes back up and it says a year in review, and it shows you pictures from last year? Do you guys get those previews?
Yeah, I think all of us.
Yeah. So you guys get to see the pictures, right? And you're like, wow, that was a year ago. And then you click on the day in review, and then it looks like 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 years back. And you're like, whoa, look at those pictures. This is the same thing right on the internet. It's the same thing. There's this look back period that's infinite. So you want to be careful. And this is really just stuff to have conversation. I like to post these and print them out and put them on the refrigerator so that, the kids have something to look at. And of course they poke fun at it, and they're like, but here's the thing. It's education, right? They make fun of the education that they receive in school, right? They're like, oh, that's stupid, and I don't want to learn anything about that. And then later in life, you're like, man, I'm really glad I learned that subject because it really helped me out. And this is the moment where I finally figured out that was the thing I needed to hear, and it applies, right? But this is a shorter wrap period, right? They're going to go and say that thing on the refrigerator is stupid. 5 seconds later, they're going to turn around to their phone and they're doing the exact same thing that they just read. Within seconds, this is the shorter lifespan period of when you're actually going to activate that knowledge. So I love to say that this is something that you can do. So I wanted to share that with you. But here's the biggest one. When we're looking at, obviously here, we're looking at how do we protect our businesses, right? Many of us are here about our businesses today. Again, it doesn't really change very much. It's still the same thing. As leaders, as business owners, we have a job to protect our employees. We have a job to protect our livelihoods and the businesses, right? People are coming to work every day. They want to know that tomorrow when I come in, the doors aren't going to be closed because we had a cyber breach. Like, what's that going to do to me and my family? Like, that's going to really worry me because I may not have money to pay my bills, right? So when your position is to employees, sometimes cybersecurity can be a little bit of a friction point. They may say, "Oh, I hate this stuff. Yeah, I did this. I don't like to do this stuff. It's awful. It makes my job harder." Well, in order for us to stay protected and those doors to stay open, we need to be secure about the way we do business, right? This is a new world. And for those of you that have online businesses or have some sort of online presence, you definitely should be considering this movement toward a secure opportunity in your organization. So, first things first, back to the user education. Number two, your delivery, your network perimeter, your malware protection, your password policies, your secure configurations. This is just kind of a step toward, making sure you're avoiding these things. I'm trying to give you a proactive look at this. I can promise you right now, if I was to come into your organizations and look around, I could probably find that every single company that's here with us today has been breached. You may not know that, but I can probably assure you that every single person here has had some sort of breach. I mean, it's just a reality. And it's something simple. Somebody clicked an email or somebody put in a password somewhere, or they gave up some information that they didn't know they were giving up, or it looked like it was logical and nothing ever happened. And this is the world we live in. And so stopping yourself from breach, these are good things to implement right here under the breach component, right? And then the effect is also implementing the controls to affect those stages, right? You want to make sure you can make sure that you affect those things so you keep your business stable and that you feel confident. Well, as a business owner, I never got in business to say that I failed because I forgot to implement a cybersecurity program or policy. I got into business because I wanted to grow a business and maybe have a nice lifestyle business that took care of me and my family. Or, I grew a business and exited it and I sold it for X amount of money because it was well run. Like, we're all looking for some meaningful outputs and exits. And that's really where we want to make sure that we spend our time, is making sure that the small blind sides that we can protect ourselves and being proactive are stopped early on. Again, back to Pierre being one of our trusted consultants and partners. We really appreciate his experience. And I think that that's really where you look for is qualified people to help me take care of my business, right? Each one of us has a specialty. My specialty is cybersecurity, right? I'm not a very good barber, a beautician. I'm not a very good accountant. Trust me, my wife would say I'm horrible with money. So when you look at it from all those different lenses, we all have something we're really good at, right? And so I focus on what I'm good at. That allows the business owner to focus on what they're really good at. And that's really what makes it all work. None of us can be good at everything. Pierre is good at managing technology and implementing security frameworks. And that's at Hacker. That's really what we do, right? We're all about helping you understand that your users, your employees are the most important part of your cybersecurity stack. Again, back to the education. The only way that I can truly stop something from happening is making you aware of what could possibly happen. So in order for us to do that, we have to have continuous education. And at Hackware, that's what we are. We are a cybersecurity education company. And we help you understand those junk mails. Like, we are phishing cybersecurity awareness, where if we test your organization on phishing and we send you junk, and if you click it, thankfully you don't get breached. You get a lesson, you get taught how not to do that again, right? It's real world scenarios. It's showing you exactly what happened, and then you have to take a little bit of a test, so a little 33-minute or less, you know, education, and then you have to take a test to make sure that you understood the components. This is how we have to continuously educate individuals in our organization. It's our opportunity, right, to learn, as I like to say, live, learn, give, right? I've learned a lesson, and now I'm giving it back. And this is where I think we really need the most help. And that's where it's our turn, right? As we have and we are business owners, it's our job, again, back to protecting our employees. It's also our job to protect our business, right? And the only way we can truly protect our business is make our employees cyber aware. Constant education. And it's really interesting that we have to be educators, right? We have to teach them not only, hey, don't be doing these types of things and having those conversations around, hey, here's stuff we shouldn't be working on. We need to have, harder passwords. We need to make sure that, we're not sharing data outside of the company. As you learn and implement these tactics into your business, it's good to give back. And so I will step forward and I will say this, right? Cybersecurity education is everybody's job. It's not just the job of the school anymore, in which we didn't learn. They are teaching some of that these days, or the college, but it's also our job as heads of the family, as contributors to our families, and also as leaders. It's our job. It's our job to help them understand that there are things that are out there that could be damaging to them, and that there's things that we can be proactive in learning about so that we can say, hey, as a community, we're stronger, better, faster, because we aren't going to fall for the cybersecurity incidents that are coming at us every single day. So with that, I want to do a little thing here, and I'm going to go around the room, and I'm going to allow you guys to ask questions because I just threw a whole bunch of fresh things at you, and I want to give everybody, not only just the virtual attendees, but also the in-person. You guys have questions? Any questions? I know there's got to be some burning ones.
Everybody looks shy right now.
Uh-oh. Well, let's just go around the room. Everybody here, the lady in the front, what question might you have?
On the spot. I'll pass because I'm still thinking about
it? Okay.
All right, well, we'll go around the room here. We'll let everybody ask a question.
Got a question.
And it can be any question, trust me. Anything.
I have no questions. I'm in security business.
So,
Oh.
You want to talk about your experience in security?
It's really good. It's good to have the knowledge that you know what you're doing, what you're clicking on your computers, because right now anybody can hack you, anybody can do a lot of things to you. And if you click on the wrong things, even your bank account could be gone in about a half a second. I know that for a fact. So it's
true.
It's well worth to know what you're doing, get the malware and stuff put on you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you for that. That's awesome.
Rachel,
We'll keep going.
we'll keep going. Any question, young lady? Any questions?
What's a good malware or software for an accounting firm?
That's a good question. So there's a variable in regards to that question, right? So if you're looking for antivirus and malware protection, that's probably the one that you really look for the most. You guys are a little bit unique because you guys deal with financial data. So you want to make sure that whatever you get. And Pierre, do you have some recommendations of the ones that you offer?
Yes, I do. We have software called Bitdefender. It does definitely security, basically on a level where you're using AI, EDR solution, essentially what it's called, where it basically, an antivirus is like a list it goes through where, okay, all these things are bad, so let me check for them. That's the basic of antivirus. If it's on the list, you can't get in. What EDR does is look for it beyond the list. It looks at behavior. So if there's something funny like someone's copying a password or somebody's deleting a file that's not supposed to be deleted, that will alert it off. And that's where we're at in terms of antivirus. We need to have that EDR solution. And Bitdefender has been a really good, solid choice. There is another solution that I'm looking at and I'm offering for the customers. It's also ThreatLocker. ThreatLocker is more for an approach where in order to install malware or antivirus on your computer, you have to install it. So what it does is it analyzes your computer for like around 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever time period, and then it locks down everything. So if you need to install it, you need to approve by IT or someone in the professional so that nothing without your no say will go on your computer. So those are the two I would definitely recommend, Bitdefender and ThreatLocker. That's a great question.
That is a good question. And I like your analogy. I think I like to use the analogy of just antivirus. So let's say like McAfee and others, and I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but they're yesterday's newspaper, right? So like you get the newspaper the next morning and you read about yesterday. Like you're not able to read today's news from the newspaper that's delivered to your house. Same thing with antivirus, right? Definitions are released after things have happened. That's too late. Enhanced detection and response, which is what Pierre was saying, EDR, is as it's happening, it's looking at what it's doing and it's saying, that's not supposed to be like that. And it stops it. So anything that's EDR is a good product. So I like where he's going with that. There is a lot of the yesterday's newspapers that are really cheap choices. And I would say steer from those that probably don't meet the needs. So that's a good question. I love that question.
Yeah.
Thank you for your presentation on the day. What would be 3 to 4 softwares you would suggest to assist or help small business maintain a good foundation with their cybersecurity and software?
Yeah, no, that's a really good idea. Look, a good question. You know, when you're thinking about your foundation layer, Pierre mentioned 2 of them, right? So you got ThreatLocker and you got Bitdefender, which is your on-premise protection and then also your cloud protection. Pierre, what are other 2? You got any other 2 recommendations?
Really just having honestly an IT person on staff or MSP like myself on staff to have because you really want to know first, what do you have as a business? So all the computers you have, and the next step is really what's on there software wise. And after that, you kind of give account so you know what to protect. And then you can add, the antivirus software, the security awareness training. But as long as you know exactly what you're protecting, I think that's the very most important aspect. Having someone that's expert in the field that knows what to look for is definitely going. Juan, you want to add anything to this?
Sure. And back to the slide that we had earlier. I'll share this one real quick with you here. The Federal Communications Commission has also outlined some of the top 5 things to do. One of the biggest ones being is educating your employees. So cybersecurity awareness training is rated number 1 in theirs, and then also protecting your information in your computer, which would technically be ThreatLocker. And then you would have, ThreatLocker, Bitdefender, and then, making sure you have a firewall on your infrastructure. And then also maybe a software that can protect your mobile devices, or using, say Microsoft or Google to protect your data, and then also implementing those cybersecurity protocols and policies. Again, back to Pierre's point of having a technology solution provider that can help you configure those. Some of those things you already have, right? So some of those are already sunk costs that you just don't activate all the security components that are built within. And that's where you would have a managed service provider help you with that. Because if you already have Office 365, there's security components that you can turn on that you already have. You could turn on multi-factor authentication. You're probably already paying for it. You probably could turn on data loss policies. You're probably already paying for it. There's a number of things that you can activate from a securities perspective that you're probably already paying for. You just need to have a security professional or technology solution provider turn them on. So the questions are, I love the questions because I love to talk to save people money. And I know as a, young entrepreneur or startup, you're looking to try to, save as much as you can. Some of the things you probably already have and you just don't use them to their full extent. So I'd say that's a great question. And thanks for asking that.
You already answered my question.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, well, what I was thinking is if we have like Microsoft 365 or we're using Google Workspace for our personal use, for school use, or for a small business that we're the sole owner of, and you just mentioned that Microsoft 365 has those safeguards in place, but how would we know how to implement those things? Is that something that we can individually do just because we have Microsoft 365, or will we need some additional assistance to implement those? And then the other question I had was, is McAfee secure? Because that's what I use personally.
So I'll answer the first one first with the Office 365 piece. So Microsoft Office 365 is, in its installation and deployment purposes, seems fairly simple, but it is very deep. And so I'm not going to say that you probably couldn't go and Google the answer and try to figure out all the things that you need to do to secure it. I will say though, that if you make a wrong turn inside of securing it, you could break your Office 365. And then in turn have to call Microsoft and get into a big bill. And rather than do that, I don't want to make that recommendation, even though that is a way you could go. Again, having the right person to have you, such as Pierre, technology solution provider, come in and say, hey, I want to secure my entire Office 365. You might not even have the right license, right? So I'm saying you could have it depending on the license you bought, but you might have like E1 or E2 or E3 or E5. It just depends. There's a number of licenses, and inside of all of them have different things. So based on your business need, kind of answers that question. And that would take somebody like Pierre to say, all right, hey, well, you have E1 and all you need to do is secure A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's included. I'll go ahead and do that for you. And then, you guys work that out. So there's a number of answers to that question. And I hate to be like that about that, because there's like, if you get E5 has like, I don't know, tons of things that you can configure in it. The answer to that question is a little longer than it is short, unfortunately. I wish there was a way I could just say, well, buy Microsoft Office 365 and it's secure by design. It is not, right? It is actually not secure by design. It's actually set up to kind of be secure, but like as far as turning the bolts and nuts and bolts of really securing it and locking it down to a way that's, really protective for your business, they don't do that by design. So that's that part. Does that answer your question, unfortunately?
Yes.
Now on the McAfee side of the house, McAfee is not unsecure, right? McAfee is secure in its own right. And I can, based on the information that they put out about it, I can only speak on, their third-party validation and security components. But again, it's a different kind of antivirus. It was back from the day when antivirus was the only thing we had access to, and the only way to respond to problems was based on seeing a problem, resolving a problem, and then issuing a definition for that problem. So it is a little bit of an archaic approach. But they have relationships with a lot of the major manufacturers. So sometimes their products get put on everything. It doesn't necessarily mean they're the best. And so with this new modern era, and you're thinking about it, it's probably good enough, but it just depends if good enough is good enough for you, right? So you have to think that through and be like, well, McAfee doesn't protect against malware, right? So you could still have a malware incident that actually hits your machine, or a ransomware incident, and you're like, I had antivirus, and you'll call McAfee and they're going to be like, hey, we don't protect against that, right? So you could still land up with an unusable computer that you're having to pay a ransom for. And that's why you see a lot of these hospitals and large cities and governments get hit with ransomware and their data's locked. They had standard-based protection that they thought was good enough. And unfortunately, it wasn't, right? So just take it for what it's worth, whatever it's worth to you, I should say, and then make the best decision there. But I would recommend, if you have highly confidential data and it's really, really valuable to you, and you can't be without your business, then I would recommend spending just a few more dollars for an enhanced detection and response solution.
Good question. All right. Any more questions?
And anybody that's virtually, Ruben, Sherry, any of you guys that are out there, Britta, any of you guys have questions that are virtual, feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions. See, they're off camera and we can't walk around and give them the mic. So they're off.
Yeah, we have to
You
actually.
think they're off the hook out there. Awesome. Well, was there any more questions that you guys might have? I want it to be engaging and informative. So if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to. And of course, I'm not there, so I apologize. Otherwise, I'd stick behind and answer. Well, Pierre, did you have any questions, buddy?
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, I guess I have a question for the group. Before this presentation, anyone else thought about cybersecurity for their business at all? What was your thoughts?
Especially the ransomware,
Okay,
somebody attacking your business through third party
gotcha.
and how to protect it.
Yep, that's so true.
When you have an online business, like, through some of these really easy to use software packages like Wix or Square or
Yep.
whatever, they're so easy to create a website and put your inventory, and, people do transactions. But then I start getting emails, oh, well, you're not secure, and, all these different things, because people already tried to hack you, to cause damage.
Yep.
And but the sites are so easy to make, you're in business right away.
Yep, that's so true. Security is usually not the first forefront of developers' mindset. It's always like developing this new tool and we worry about security later. Now we're moving in the age where it has to be required, unfortunately. Juan Fernandez, I do have a question for you. If anyone here online or on site wants to get more information on the latest threats or the concerns that they should be focused on, where should they go?
Yeah, I would say that a really great place, if you're looking at it, is looking at the FCC website that I posted up there. They have a really great cybersecurity alert program. If you really, that's really in-depth stuff, but it has good business stuff. Really great ways to protect your business. I teach a cybersecurity sales masterclass, but I'm not constantly announcing, the breaches that are coming out. Unfortunately, there's so many that happen all the time. But if you're looking for good content, feel free to link up with me in LinkedIn. I have a lot of great friends in the cybersecurity space. Happy to connect with anybody. But again, also leverage Pierre. He's a great resource. Also neitsupport.com is a really great place, to kind of find some stuff there. Lean on Pierre since he's your local resource there, and you can touch, see, and feel him. Pinch him for me the next time you get close. But hopefully that helps a little, Pierre.
Yep, that definitely did. Anybody else have any questions? All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining. And I hope everyone had a great experience and can take back to their business and probably can spread the word out. If you guys are interested in Acquire products at all, definitely reach out to neitsupport.com and go to contacts page, and you can just contact me and I can set up a quote for you guys or set up a demo. If you want to try it out, it won't cost you. 14-day free trial. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we love.
Anything I'm missing there?
No, absolutely. If you guys are interested in cybersecurity awareness, we are all about that. That is our jam. We would love to support you in any way possible. And again, we look forward to being back with you guys soon. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ping us about anything, anytime, any place. We're here to help you. So thanks you guys for being here tonight.
All right. Thanks for having us. All right. Which one, guys?
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. And we're cool.